this is a lecture on intents. Okay, so intents are just like messages. It consists of actions to perform. We transfer intent from one app component to another app component. The receiver app component will take that message, and within that it will take that action and it will perform the action. Okay, so that is what messaging object, and it holds an action, and we will send to another app component. App components are nothing but activities, services, broadcast receivers, all those things, notifications, all those things. And generally we use the intents to start the activity, start the service, broadcast. There are two types of intents: explicit intents and implicit intents. Explicit intents means here target will be specified. We just discussed that. We discussed that intent will be sent from sender to receiver. For suppose sender to some other component, one component to another component. That another component is target. Sometimes without specification of the target also we can create an intent. Those intents are called explicit intents. Then who is the target? That is the question. The target will be identified based upon the category or data or action of the intent. Target will be identified or selected by the operating system based upon the category or action or data of the intent. Okay, and if you see the note, of course here target will be specified. In explicit intent, the target will be specified. If the target is not specified, then it is implicit. Okay, now generally what happens is we use explicit intent for your own app, because you know the class name of the target. Okay, so explicit intent, here target is specified. Generally we use explicit intents in your own app because you know which other activity can execute the present intent. Okay, next one, implicit intents. Now here we will not specify the name of the component, otherwise the target will not be specified in implicit intents. Okay, then who will perform that operation? Okay, so that will be performed by another app. Okay, and that app will be identified, but otherwise that activity will be identified by the operating system. Okay, so here we specify only the action to be performed, Okay, and if you see one example, I want to show the user location. Showing an user location, that activity may not be present in your app, but you can make use of an activity of another app which is installed in that particular smartphone, user's smartphone. Okay, so simply we will send the intent, that's it. So the receiver will receive that, and it will execute its own activity in order to show the user's location. That is one small example. Okay, and when there are multiple targets, okay, then user will pick the target. So operating system will provide a list to the user. User will pick one among those multiple compatible activities or apps. Okay, example, when you are trying to open a link, URL link, if you click on that link, a browser related app should open that, and there can be multiple browsers. When there are multiple browsers, Android operating system will show all those browsers, and it will ask you to select one among them. Based upon the user selection, that particular app will be selected. Normally what happens when an implicit intent is delivered through the system in order to start another activity? That's nothing but we have our own app. For suppose within our app there is activity A, in another app there is activity B, Now we are sending an intent. That intent has to be executed by activity B. Now Android operating system or Android system will take care of sending the intent from activity A to activity B. Okay, based upon the category, action, or data, Android system will identify corresponding or respective activity, and that will be executed. The selection of the activity generally depends upon the intent filter of the activity. In intent filter, generally we specify action as well as category. By using those action and category which are specified in the intent filter, Android system will execute an activity for this current intent what you are trying to execute. Okay, so in this diagram there are three steps. We are now in activity A. We are starting another activity, and that activity name we are not specifying, but we will be specifying the action. Okay, so here object of the intent will be passed to start activity method. Okay, now that start activity method, in order to start the activity, Android system will look into its intent. Along with start intent activity, there will be an intent. Android system will look at that intent, and it will identify corresponding intent filter, and it will transfer that intent to that particular activity, and over there on create will be called. In all create, that intent will be passed on create. So in the receiver, otherwise in the target activity, in on create method, through its arguments you can get the intent over there, and you can access the intent over there. That is what this. Next one. Okay, different types of intents. Generally we have only two types, explicit and implicit, but we use that intent in different manners. There's nothing but one is for not only for unicasting. Unicasting is one-to-one, one target, I mean one sender and one target, that is unicasting. Broadcasting means everyone. Okay, so if you can broadcast an intent, you can unicast an intent, as well as you can keep an intent as pending. There is nothing but pending is nothing but notification. Okay, so we create an intent object. Within the intent object there will be an action, and we will make that one as a pending intent. Means what, it should be executed in the future, no need of executing right now. For that there is one more concept called notifications. We use notifications and we will do that work. Broadcasting means sending one action to almost all the components or all the apps in the Android operating system, and whoever is registered to that particular broadcast, they will receive that. That is nothing but broadcast receiver, and it will execute that particular intent. Those things we will discuss in the coming classes. And now the main point, explicit intent. In explicit intent, we can start an activity, we can start a service. When you are starting a service, you have to use explicit intent because you have to specify the target. For a service, you have to specify the target. For an activity, without specifying the target also, you can create an intent. That's nothing but implicit intent. Here we will specify the action along and no target. And here when there is no target, there will be an error. If there are only one target, then it will be started. If many targets are there, then user choice is required. Then how and all we use intents. Okay, so intent can be used to start one activity. You can start one activity from another activity. Okay, intent can be used to start a service. That was the second point. And intent, that's what implicit intent. Implicit intent is nothing but simply it will specify the action, it will not specify the target, but target will be identified and it will perform the operation. And then it can be used for notification purpose. That's nothing but it is used to notify the user also, intents. And it can be used to notify, that's nothing but it can be used to broadcast also. Okay, those are all different types or different ways where we use intents. And of course, when you are executing one activity, you have to look its Android operating system will look into its intent filters. If intent filters is matching in terms of action and category, then only that particular activity will be executed. Similarly, in broadcast receiver also. Next, when you look at intent filter is nothing but it is one node. Intent filter is a node. Otherwise, it is a tag in manifest.xml. in Android manifest file. Okay, apps manifest file. Okay, so where it will be intent filter, where it will be? It will be under activity. Of course, activity will be under I think application. Application will be under manifest. Okay, those are there are different other tags, the parent tags, and at the activity level, the tag will be the node will be like this. Okay, now here intent filter has action as well as category as subtags or child nodes. Here they are specifying the action of the activity, saying that it is the main action, and category is a launcher. Okay, it is used to launch. Okay, it can be launched. Okay, then intent fields. There are so many fields in intent object. There are so many fields in intent object. So first one is component name. This is optional. That's nothing but if you specify the component name. We are supposed to create an object for intent. When you are creating an object for intent, you are supposed to pass some values to that particular intent. What are those values? Those are nothing but the fields. Generally, when you create an object, constructor of that particular class will be called. To the constructor, we pass few arguments. Those arguments can be these fields. That's nothing but intent holds a few elements with it. What are those? First one is component name, and this is optional. There's nothing but if component is name is specified, if the component name is specified, it is explicit intent. If the component name is not specified, then it is implicit intent. And there will be a category. There will be a category also. And main part is action and data. Okay, the important one is action. You have to specify the action. You have to specify the action before. Without specifying the action, generally almost all the times we cannot create an intent. There should be an action, and component name is option. Okay, so when you look at these are all the main fields, but not only these fields. There are so many other fields. Let us look into those fields. Okay, the first one is component name, second one is action, third one is data to be passed, fourth one is the category of that particular intent, and if any extras are required, and flag. So let us look into these fields. Now, the first one, component name. Now, what is component name? That's nothing but name of the component. Which component? The component which you want to start. Okay, so the means what you want to perform an action. That action has to be performed by one component. Now, which component should be executed now? Which component should start now in order to perform the operation? That's what the point here. Okay, and of course, this is optional. If you specify that, it is explicit. If you are not specifying that one, it is implicit. Okay, now where explicit will be used, this should be delivered only to the app component defined by the component name. There's nothing but we will write one component name to that particular component name only, to that particular component only, intent has to be delivered. Okay, specific. Okay, but in implicit, it is not that one. It will be decided. It will be decided. Okay, so who will decide? System will decide. Okay, and of course, based on action, data, and category. Based on action, data, and category. Of course, when you take a service, you can start a service also by using the intent, but you have to use explicit intent in order to start a service. That's why you have to specify always the component. You specify always the component name. Otherwise, if you're not specifying the service name, then what will happen? Now, if you simply give the intent with the action, if that action is related to a service, then you cannot be certain which service or what service will respond to that intent. Okay, we don't know that one. And another one is user cannot see the service whether it is started or not, because service mostly it will run or execute in the background. It will not interact with the user then user will not, if the user is not interacting with that, then user cannot see whether the service is starting or not. That's why it is always better to provide the name of the service when you want to start a service. Okay, when you are specifying the component name, you are supposed to specify the fully qualified class name. Fully qualified class name is nothing but along with the path of its package com dot subpackage example dot name of the class. You can set the component name by using some methods, set component, set class name, or you can make use of intent class constructor. Then the next one is action. Action, this is the one main one for intent. There's nothing but we are creating an intent to perform an action. Mostly to perform an action. Okay, so this is the main part for intent. You have to give this action. You have to give this action. Okay, what are those actions? Like it can be a view, it can be pick. Okay, pick in the sense there will be a list. In that list, you have to pick one item. View in the sense you want to see a list of items. Otherwise, if you want to see details about one particular contact, you have phone contacts. In those phone contacts, you want to view one phone contact. That is view or pick. Like that, different. Those are all actions. Those are all examples for actions. Okay. Now, of course, when you look at broadcast intent, generally what happens is action means in broadcast intent. Action means the action which is taken place, which took place. Okay, which took place. We are broadcasting that action. Just now this happened. We broadcast. We broadcast that one. Just now system is booted. We broadcast that one. I mean, Android operating system will broadcast that one. Okay, and it will be reported. Okay, this is what happened. Like that, it will send a report in broadcast intent. Okay, so that is a little bit different with the other intents. Now we can specify our own actions. Means what? You can define your own action, and you can use that action. Otherwise, you can make use of some predefined action constants or action verbs, which are defined in most of the times in intent class. Intent class means what? We will write intent dot action underscore view, intent dot action underscore send, like that. Okay. Otherwise, by some other framework classes will provide those actions. You have to make use of those actions. If you want to set the action, you can make use of set action method. Otherwise, the constructor of intent. If you see a few examples, action view and action sent. What is action view? Okay, so uses with start activity. Start activity is a method which will be called in one activity in order to start another activity. Okay, and action view is nothing but when you have some information that an activity can show to the user. If you want to show something to the user, user has to see that one. So in order to make that one work, we have to make use of action verb action underscore view. Okay, for suppose photo to view in a gallery app, otherwise address to view in a map app. Okay, like those are all examples. Not only action view and action send, there are so many other actions. Those things we will see in another PPT. So I will explain that one also. Okay, now one more example is action underscore send. Again, this can be used with the start activity. Okay, when you have some data that can share through another app, such as email, such as WhatsApp, such as Facebook. Okay, you want to share. If you want to share, what should be done? You have to send. So the action is action underscore send. Okay, next one is data. Okay, so most of the times we see data in terms of an URI object, otherwise URI. Okay, so it is a reference. Otherwise, it references the data to be acted on. Okay, so on which data we have to work on, that reference can be provided by URI. Of course, there is a separate terminology for this URIs. We will see those in terms of an code, example code. Okay, now. Okay, so the data what we supply generally depends upon the action of the intent. There's nothing but, for suppose if you want to dial a contact, if you want to make a call, Okay, what to do? We will open the phone contacts. We will view all the contacts. We will select one contact, or there we just press on call, then a call will go. Okay, so that can be done automatically, okay, by writing an URI. We will see in terms of an example in the coming slides. Okay, now the same thing. Action underscore edit is also one more example. We will get the complete idea in some other slide. Okay, now you can set the data by calling a method set data. Along with data, there will be MIME type. What is MIME type? Message content type. So we are passing a message from one component to another component in terms of an intent. Again, sometimes we have to specify the type of the content also. We call that one as MIME type. You can set that MIME type by using the method set type. Otherwise, you can make use of the constructor of the intent over there. You can specify the MIME type also. Okay, we have to look at those constructors and its arguments, then we can understand those things. Okay, if you want to set both data and type, you can make use of set data and type method. Okay, that is about data. So it is used to data generally will be in the form of URI, and the action what we want to perform is generally depends upon this data. If the data is related to a phone call, then action is make a phone call. If the data is related to URL, open that one in a browser. If the data is this one, then you do that one. That is what, based upon the data, action will be decided. Okay, we will see that one in terms of example. Okay, next one. Okay, so next one is category. What is this category? So it is a string. It is some additional information about the kind of component. Basic information is action, component name, and data. Okay, that's it. Now some additional, we are coming into some additional information. First three parts, after that this is the fourth field. Okay, now the kind of component, that is what category. Okay, of course we can place any number of category descriptions in an intent. Okay, sometimes intent does not require any category. Okay, so we have seen that in generally we see about category in intent filter. We see about category in intent filter. We have seen in the previous slides in the intent filter related slide. Okay, so this is a manifest file. This is a manifest file, and within the manifest file there is a activity tag. Okay, now within the activity tag there is a intent filter tag. Within the intent filter tag, along with action, there is category. Where will be this category? This category is in intent filter. Which one? The category. Okay, fine. So we simply specify the category. That's it. Based upon the category, sometimes Android system will identify the target if the intent is implicit. Okay, so one small example. Okay, category browsable. There's nothing but URLs. When there is an URL, you can specify that one under the category underscore browsable, so that a browser will come into picture in order to perform that particular intent, in order to execute that particular intent. Okay, the target activity allows itself to be started by a web browser. Why web browser? Because the category is browsable. Okay, to display that data referenced by a link. It can be a link, it can be an email message. Okay, so based upon main point here is category. If the category is category underscore browsable, then browser app will be selected as target, and we will be doing multiple operations like an image can be displayed, or email message can be displayed, or URL will be opened in that particular browser, like that. So many other examples. Then launcher. What is this launcher? The activity is the initial activity of a task and is listed in systems application. The point here is launcher is a special activity we can call simply initial activity. And that's why in main we have seen launcher. launcher, because it is the initial activity of the task. Okay, so so based upon this category, execution of the app will be I mean execution of app depends. Okay, that's what the point here. Okay, the main concept here is we have a category, and we will specify the category of the intent in that category section. Generally, we see category in activities intent filter. That is one place where we specify the category, and there will be so many categories. There are so many predefined categories, like category underscore browsable, category underscore launcher. Based upon the category, most of the times or some of the times, the Android system will pick an app in order to execute the intent. And like other fields, there is a method. There is a method for category also. If you want to add a category in your code, you can make use of this method. Okay. Well, generally, for an activity, we write an intent filter. Along with that, there is one more option. That's nothing but we can specify the category by calling add category. Okay. So we discussed about component name, we discussed about action, we discussed about data, we discussed about category. Now the fifth one, extras. There are 6 fields. This is the fifth one, extras. Okay. So what are these extras? Along with the data, if you want to send some other thing along with the intent to that another app, to that target, then we use extras. Basic thing is data. Okay, action we have to perform, and component name we will be specifying, category we will be specifying, and the data. That is data is the base. But along with that base data, if you want to pass some other data, we have to use extras. That's why it is used to pass data to intents. Okay. So here we see key value pairs. This is one important point. Key value pairs. Okay, that's nothing but here we are creating an object for intent. Okay, so intent is the name of the class. Small intent is name of the object is equals to new intent. This is Java. We know this one, and this is nothing but the object in which we wrote this statement. Generally, we write in an activity. So this here refers the sending activity. This refers the sending activity, and my activity is the target activity. Okay, so by using this constructor of intent, we created an intent object. Along with that, along with the component name, we are specifying the component name. Along with the component name, we are specifying some extra. We are sending extra information in terms of key value pair. Key value pair. Key is media underscore ID, and value is A1, B2, C3. Like that. How many values you want, those many values you can put as extra. Okay, but there should be key value pair. Key is nothing but the name. Value is nothing but value under that name. So in the receiving end, that's nothing but in the target component, we can get those extras. Here we put the extra, over there we get the extra. Okay, and then you start the activity. Which activity will be started? My activity dot class will be started. And how my activity dot class is started? Because for start activity we are passing intent. Within intent, the target is in order to perform this intent, the target is my activity dot class. Okay, so along with that intent, we can pass some extra also. We can put some extra. We can pass some extra data. Okay, add extra data with various put extra. Means what? There are so many alternatives for this put extra methods. We have to look into the library of Android over there. You can understand. If you know Java, then you can understand those things very easily. Okay, and each accepting 2 parameters. That's what? Key and value. That is what? Key name and the value. Okay, that is one way of passing data to intents. Another way is you can use one more object called bundle. Bundle is the name of a class. You create an object for that particular bundle. Okay, bundle b is equals to new bundle. However you want, you can write. Of course, before bundle, they created just an intent object. and the target component name is second activity dot class. Generally, that second activity is present in the same app. That's why it is explicit intent. That's why we are able to write directly the name of that particular activity. Okay, and now in the bundle, there are few methods. This is bundle object. There are few methods like put, data type. So put int, put string, put char, put float, like that. So many methods are there. So many methods are there. Okay. Or there again key value pair. Key, comma, value. It is a string, put string. We are putting a string. See, the key always will be a string, but the value depends upon the name what you write. So we wrote string. That's why here the value also a string. Okay. So now, so by calling put extras method in intent class. Previous one is put extra. Now this one is put extras. Okay. And for this put extras, we are passing the bundle object. That's nothing but in put extra, you can simply put only one key value pair. But in put extras, you can pass bundle of key value pairs. Okay, instead of calling put extra multiple times, you create a bundle. You create a bundle of key value pairs and pass simply that bundle object. That's done. Okay, that is another way of passing data, extra data to the intent. Again, at the end, you can simply start the activity by passing the object of the intent. That's it. Okay, so that is about extras, and the last field is flags. Okay, so what is that? Flags are defined in the intent class that function as metadata for the data about data. Okay, so we are passing some data. We have data and we are passing some extras. If you want to put some other information which tells about that data, there's nothing but metadata. You can make use of flags. Okay, flags may instruct the Android system how to launch an activity. One example. Okay, so by using flags, we will specify like this you launch, like that you launch. Okay, in real time you'll get this is an advanced concept. In real time, you'll by going through one small example, you can understand where we use flags, some type of concept. And last point, we can make use of a set flags method in order to set the flags for the intent. So those are the 6 fields in the intent. Okay, when you are creating an intent, you can add all these 6 fields to the intent. Of course, out of all these 6 intents, most of the times we will be specifying the action, and in most of the times we will be specifying the component name. Those two are very, very important. Okay, either component name, otherwise the action has to be specified. So if it is implicit intent, action is the main thing. If it is explicit intent, the target is the main thing. Component name is the main thing. Okay, so normally data, category, extras, and flags. Right. Now one small example. Okay, explicitly starting new activity. Okay, so if you want to start an activity, you have to write that code in another activity. So there should be two activities. Okay, in this example, main activity and second activity. Okay, so consider this one as one activity and this one as another activity. Okay, this is a main activity and this is second activity. We have 2 activities. Okay, so we have 2 activities, main activity and second activity. So we will be passing a message in terms of intent from main activity to second activity. So the thing is, we have to define the main activity in your app, as well as we have to define the second activity in our app. When you are defining activity in our app, what we have to do, we have to write like this: public class name of the activity extends activity, so that all the activity features will be present in your own activity. Now your activity can be considered, your class can be considered as an activity. Now within that activity there can be so much of code, but in one place, mainly in onCreate, I think you can write wherever you want, but generally we see in onCreate method. We have to write this code for starting another activity. We are starting a new activity. That is what this example. We can start a service. We can start an another activity, and we can simply say the we can simply pass the action and try to execute that. So those are three general possibilities. General possibilities where we use intent, right? Okay, let us now we are looking into the first one, starting an activity. Now, when you are starting an activity, okay, so the activity can be started in another activity only. That's why two activities. Now you have to create within the first activity, within the main activity, you have to create the intent object. Okay, so in the intent object we are specifying like this. Simply you can write this in the first argument, no problem. This in the sense in which class you are writing this, that object it refers, okay. So main activity dot this they wrote. Instead of that, simply you can write this also. It refers the object of that particular class, main activity class. Means what? It refers main activity. It refers main activity. Okay, and the second one is the target, the activity what you want to start, the activity what you want to start. And here the notable point is you are supposed to write dot class. You are supposed to write dot class. Okay, name of the class dot class. Okay, so second activity you want to start from main activity, so you have to call start activity within the main activity by passing the intent object, okay. So second activity will be called automatically. That's it. Simple one. So in second, again the same stuff, we will be extending the activity so that your class second activity will become an activity. And within that we have so many life cycle methods. One of the life cycle method is onCreate. By using onCreate, you can within the onCreate you can perform the operations. We can perform the operations. Okay, one small example. Now, not only these two activities, along with these two activities, we have to look into one more file, that is nothing but manifest file. We have to look into manifest file. So this is the manifest file. Now within the manifest file, of course, the start the main node is, of course, manifest is one node. After that, application is the node. Within the application, all the activities will be there. How many activities are there? 1 and 2. Means what? 2 activity tags are present in manifest file. The first activity is for main activity, and the second activity is for second activity. Of course, in second activity, we are not doing much. We are not performing any operations. That's why in second activity, we didn't write any intent filter, action, or category. All those things, those are not specified. Okay, but in first activity, it is specified, intent filter. Okay, so the action is main, and the category is launcher. Okay, so based upon this intent filters only, generally that particular activity will be executed. One thing is, now the present activity, main activity, can be used to execute first when the app is executed. When the app is executed, the first activity which should be executed is the main activity, because the category is under launcher and the action also main. Okay, so that is what the place where you where we use intents. There's nothing but starting a new activity. We can start a service also. Okay, and another one is the previous example is explicit. Explicit in the sense, what is this explicit? We specified the target. You specify the target. If you specify the target name, it is explicit. Now another example. There's nothing but initiate a phone call. We have to initiate a phone call. Okay. So now the actions, otherwise the action verbs should be either dial or call. Okay. So dial, action underscore dial, what it will do? It will open that dialer. Okay. There's nothing but those numbers will be displayed. Now you can type or press the number. Okay, that is a dial. Okay, opens the dialer or it opens the phone app. That is the action. But suppose directly you want to call, then you have to use action underscore call. It will place a call. Okay, but when you are going for this, you require a permission. You require a permission. Okay, that permission, okay, should be specified in Android manifest.xml. That is nothing but manifest file, and you have to specify like this: users permission. Okay, you have to specify in your app. It uses this permission. Which permission? To call another phone. That permission is required. Without a permission, an app cannot perform a task. If those are common tasks, then directly it can be performed. Starting an activity in an app, another activity in an app, no need of any permission. But making a call, actually making a call is not part of your app. Or suppose, but still, if you want to make a call, then you have to take this permission. If you write this user's permission, what happens is, okay, it will ask, Android system will ask the user, see, certain app is trying to make a call. Okay, now if the user allow that one, then onwards that app will make use of that permission and it will do the task of, for suppose, calling the phone. So that is why when you install any app in an Android operating system, it will ask permissions. It will ask the permission from the user. If the user allows, then only that particular option will work. If the user is not allowing, if the user is denying, even though there is a functionality in the app, that app cannot perform that functionality. It cannot perform the task because app is not permitted by the user. App is not permitted by the user. Okay. So that's what you have to write in manifest file, this node, otherwise this tag uses permission. Okay. So you see, this is one small example to make a phone call. So in order to make a phone call, what we have to do? We have to create an intent. Of course, you can create an intent wherever you want. In this example, they created one method for suppose a dial phone number. Whenever you want to dial a phone number, you have to call this in your app. You can place this. You can place this method wherever you want, and it accepts a phone number in the form of a string. Okay, so consider that you are creating an app. Within that app, there is one activity, and within that activity, we are going to write this method. Okay, whenever the user presses one button, otherwise whenever user performs some task, then this particular method has to be executed. Okay, you consider you did all those things. Afterwards, this one. Okay, now in order to dial the phone number, we are creating an intent object here, and we are specifying the action as intent dot. What is intent? Intent is the name of the class. Dot means what? Within intent there are few fields, otherwise few variables. Okay, otherwise few action verbs. Okay, simply to remember, few action verbs. You have to write intent dot that particular action verb. In the previous example, we were starting an activity. We were starting an activity. So name of the activity was specified out there, along with the current activity and the target activity. But here we are specifying the action. We are not specifying the component name. So when you look at this statement, it tells it is an implicit intent. It is an implicit intent. Okay. So now object is created. That's it. Okay. And we are going to start an activity by passing the intent. And when you look at the intent, when you look at the start activity method, in either of them, we haven't specified the component name. We haven't specified the component name. So what happens? Android system will identify the app which should be used in order to perform this operation by using its intent filter. Okay, it will check for the intent filters wherever the category matches. That's nothing but the type matches, the data matches, okay, the action matches, the particular activity or that particular app will be selected by the Android system. So this is the example for implicit intent. And now the main point. We are specifying the data by calling another method setData. We discussed just at that point. There will be few methods. Okay, we can call those methods in order to set the fields of intent, like component name, few methods, category, few a method. Um, for all the remaining things also, okay, there are methods. For setting the data also, there is a method called setData. Okay, after creating the object, intent object. In intent object, we specify the action. We specify the action. Now we are specifying. We are setting the data. Now we are setting the data like this. Okay, it is an URI. It is an URI. Okay, we have to call the by using the URI class, and it's a method parse method. You are supposed to. I mean, you have to call that one parse method. So it will take that URI, it will parse that URI, and then it will give to the set data. It will take set data will take that data in the correct format, and then it will perform the job. Okay. So how this data should be? How this data should be? Data, when you are giving the data, you have to follow the URI scheme. Now the URI scheme for making a phone call, the URI scheme for making a phone call is tell colon the phone number. Okay, the URI scheme for making a call is tell colon phone number. So for every action, there will be a scheme like this. Okay, we have to study that one. We have to understand that one. There will be so means in this class I cannot explain all those URI schemes. But remember, there is a URI scheme for every action. Okay, for this action, what might be the URI scheme? You can refer the library and you can use that and you can get the job done. Okay, that's the point we have to know. Okay, now for suppose if it is a voicemail, then you are supposed to use voicemail colon name of the phone number. I mean that particular phone number. Okay, so now we are framing that. We are framing that in this example code. We are framing that URI. That URI. That's nothing but tell colon. Now phone number is not static. It is dynamic. It will be given or it will be provided by the user. So we are using a variable here. So that variable will be appended, will be added with the string tell. Okay, and it will be passed. You have to call URI.parse. So it will be obtained in the correct format what they require, and then we say give that one to that particular activity, so that activity will take it and it will execute. Otherwise, it will perform the job. Okay. Of course, along with these things, there is one more thing to be known. That's nothing but intent.resolve activity. Okay. After, if it is not equals to null, if it is not equals to null, then only you have to start the activity. Without resolving the activity, you cannot start the activity. So that is one real-time thing what we're supposed to do. But according to the concept, we have to create the intent object. While creating the intent object, you have to pass the action. When you are passing the action, you are supposed to pass the action verb. Action verbs are already present in intent class. So use the name of the class dot name of that particular action verb. That's it. And then if it is implicit intent, sometimes we need to pass some data also. In order to pass the data, we will be using set data. When you are giving the data, generally most of the times the data will be in the form of URI scheme. You have to find out the URI scheme for that particular action from the references provided in library, Android library, and use URI.parse method. and pass that URI scheme, and then you go for start activity. Android system will identify the activity which can execute this intent, and it will execute that particular intent. So that is what this one. Of course, we have to do all these things practically. If possible, I will create one video which will tell about this process. Okay. Now, and similarly, you can send SMS message also. Okay, you can send SMS message also.